Loving yourself, your life, or your partner deepens when you no longer require a reason or explanation for that love. If in every moment you said to yourself, "I choose love," your life would be radically different. This simple but profound statement can change your life. If you desire a life of peace and love, you must first become that in your own house. When I say house, I mean your body and mind. Your spirit already knows the depths of the endless nature of love. Love is an ever-expanding power in the universe that grows and expands within us each time we touch it. Its expansion enriches our lives and enlivens our connections with others. Often we hold back our love and reserve it for a select few we call family and friends, or to our partners. To hold back our love and to restrict it to the select few diminishes our ability to tap into a much larger aspect of love. To enliven our experience with love, it requires us to move from conditional love to unconditional love. Anytime we share our love with another, there's an automatic presence of God in the moment you're in, for God is love. When we love ourselves or others, the spirit of unity opens up between two people. Unity is a divine truth, and there's a rapid discovery of that truth when we love one another. If there were a recipe for a rich and full life, invariably you would find that love was the first ingredient. For many years I protected my heart and withheld my love in fear of getting hurt. I didn't realize that in the process of restricting myself from giving my love freely, I was closing the door for more love to enter my life. Love moves in a great circle. As it flows out of us, it eventually comes back, and it becomes a never-ending loop that moves to and from us. It should never be any of our concern as to when or how it will return. Just trust in God, and over time, you will see love's return. When love returns, it has a deeper and richer essence to it. This is love's expansive nature. Conditional love. Conditional love, if we give out of expectation, then we're not really giving our love. We're just lending it. We all know how lending our stuff usually plays out. We either don't get it back, or when it's returned, it doesn't show up in the same condition as when we lent it out. The point here is, if we're not giving wholeheartedly, then we're not really giving at all. Love is without limit. There is no cap on how much is available for us to experience and for us to share. Love makes a lousy prisoner. While in custody, it will begin to dissolve and eventually completely vanish from our entrapment. The reason for this is because love is not a possession. It's a gift we share. When we personalize love and reduce it down to a possession, we greatly diminish the power it contains. Love's omnipotent power is supercharged when we stake no claim to it and give it freely to the world around us. Removing the conditions off of our love requires us to take a closer look at ourselves. One of the biggest factors that helped me move towards unconditional love was that I started to love myself. One of the main reasons I was very conditional with my love is that I didn't love myself and I treated myself poorly. I found loving myself very difficult to do for many years of my life. It was much easier for me to give my love away than it was for me to love myself. There was a time when I didn't love myself at all, and I didn't feel that I was all that lovable. But this is the deep dark secret that I hid below my anger. I didn't think I was good enough, and because of that, I created an image of myself that I was worthless. There came a time when I wanted to improve myself and heal the sad story of me. I started observing my behavior. Most often, I didn't even know that I was acting out, as I was running on automatic pilot, just reacting to everything. So I started to make mental notes as to when I got angry, and I began to let go of the thoughts that I was having in my mind during these times. When I began to feel my emotions rise, I would take stock of my thoughts. What was causing me to react in that moment? What I began to notice is that more often than not, there was nothing wrong with the moment I was in. It was just reminding me of a painful event in my past. When you begin to feel your emotions rise within, embrace yourself with love, breathe, and return to the present moment. By doing this, you will begin to love yourself more. The next step towards loving yourself is to end the self-violence. In my mind, I was cruel and abusive towards myself. I would criticize my every action and verbally assault myself thousands of times a day. I would never dare tolerate another person to talk to me the way that I would talk to myself. I didn't think there was anything wrong when I called myself fat and stupid, creating this feeling that I was worthless and many more things. I learned that I needed to stop screaming at myself in my mind. Who in their right mind would scream at themselves? It's not a very loving thing to do. It usually didn't take much for me to bring on a yelling fit in my head. Another way I would punish myself was overworking. For many years, I would work 7 days a week until I burned out and crashed for a few days. Then I would start all over again. When we don't give ourselves downtime, what we're really saying to ourselves is that we're not worthy of taking a break. The violent voice in me always told me I couldn't do things and that I was never good enough. But each time I did not listen to that voice in my head, it got quieter. It became less intrusive in my life. Now, it's nothing but a whisper to me. It tries to get my attention from time to time, but I no longer listen to that voice. The amount of love we experience in our lives often corresponds with the love that we have for ourselves. As we learn to love ourselves, the world reflects that back to us. Again, that's the circular effect of love. If you find the world to be a cold, unlovable place, it might be time for you to look at how much you love yourself. Look into your heart and find the most lovable aspects of you. Love with conditions is like apple juice without apples. There's no love in conditional love. We are merely just projecting an expectation onto another. Unconditional love. Love is the bridge into deeper wisdom. When we choose love, we are taking the first step across that bridge. If we observe people acting out or projecting their stress or anger onto us, this is a good time for us to practice unconditional love. When people act out, it's a good indication that they are most likely in need of our love. By not taking other people's problems personally, we have the ability to stand back and just hold them in perfect love. When we do this, we provide a safe environment for others to heal and grow. It allows them to rise up to a greater potential within themselves. When I hold an angry person in love, what tends to happen is they either leave or they soften and melt in my presence. Unconditional love has the power to transform people. There have been very few people who have come to this earth who have been able to raise their consciousness to the level of unconditional love. However, that does not mean that the power of unconditional love cannot work through us at any given moment. The more we give ourselves over to love, we grow our potential to transmute lower levels of consciousness in ourselves and others just by remaining still and present. One of the ways we can access deeper levels of love is to work at reducing our fears. The great thing is that the more we love, we become more fearless. The world is not an unsafe place. We do not need to put so much attention on the fear being projected onto us. Unconditional love doesn't always show up in your life with a pearly white smile. When I think about unconditional love, I often associate it with a squishy jelly feeling in my heart that touches me deeply. This is not always the case. Sometimes the most loving thing we can give or receive from another is honesty. We sometimes avoid the truth or actually don't even see it at all. Our great teachers of love sometimes show up in the most unlikely places and circumstances. There have been many times when I've said things to others that could be perceived as mean. Often the hardest thing to tell someone is sometimes the thing they just need to hear the most. When we practice unconditional love, we are less likely to pass judgment onto people. This type of love allows us to see others from a different vantage point. We tend to find where we are similar to others versus seeing our differences. By observing myself in others, it allows me to become more compassionate and caring towards my fellow man. We require nothing and lose nothing by giving our love to others. Open your heart and door for others and love them as you would want to be loved, and then watch the miracles take place. This is the very beginning of what unconditional love is. To truly know it, one has to live it and experience it for themselves. My account of love or anyone else's can never really touch what there's there to be experienced. It's better lived than read about. Being unconditional with our love calls us to choose love always. Maintaining a willingness requires a devotion to our practice of love. Love is deep and without bottom. As we grow in consciousness, we also grow in our understanding of love. For many years of my life, I was in love. I would step into love with people, places, and sometimes the things in my life. Love for me has deepened. I am becoming more of love versus being in love. Spending more time resting in love that's inside of me has transformed me to exude the love that I am. By knowing love more, I experience a deeper presence of God in my life. Fear cannot live in a house love rules. Love has removed fear from my life, giving me a more powerful position to express myself through. Fear drives me away from love. It tells me that I cannot trust in love. I am separate from others, whereas love provides us with the providence of God, and it shows us how we are all one of the same. A life without love is really not a life at all. Love brings understanding to the most unexplainable things in life. Its silent nature embraces us and brings meaning to our human endeavors. It knows perseverance, for it's there with you during your toughest times, giving you just the right support you need to push you a bit further when it doesn't seem possible. There's no place where love does not fit. Its malleable presence can fit anywhere, anytime in our lives. Its nature is simple, but nearly impossible to put the words because of the depth that it contains. The reason all this is true is because love is God, and God is love. By entering into love, we become the embodiment of God here on earth. This is how we are to bring heaven to earth. We simply love, and God appears. When we love, the depth and intelligence of the entire cosmos can flow from us into all that we do. Oh, what wonder is our love! The entire universe is not large enough to contain it, yet it lives within us with full consciousness of how grand it is.